We're straightening out a little unfinished business in Iran and a couple of other places. Tremendous success that we had in Venezuela, as you know. We're doing amazing oil business there right now, and it's been incredible.
How are Iran and the Houthi rebels managing to bleed what many call the world's strongest air force dry? And what tactics and resources are they using to inflict sustained losses? Why has the Pentagon been forced to scrounge for additional drones and aircraft as Iran's network of proxies drives up the cost and complexity of modern aerial warfare? How can the US possibly keep up when it can't build MQ-9 Reapers fast enough to replace losses? And what does that shortfall mean for ongoing operations? Do the roughly 30 MQ-9 losses so far reveal a harsh new reality for US forces? And what do those losses tell us about vulnerabilities in current drone doctrine and defenses? With the US Air Force reportedly down to about 135 operational drones and years away from fielding new models, how will that shortage affect global surveillance and strike capabilities? If America can't quickly replace its drone losses against low-tech but determined Iranian proxies, what strategic and operational risks will that create for US forces and their partners? The world's most powerful military is suddenly facing an uncomfortable reality, as mounting losses and unexpected vulnerabilities are forcing a reassessment of capabilities once considered unassailable. For the first time in years, questions are being asked about whether the United States' unmatched military power can reliably project force everywhere at will, and analysts are openly debating how sustainable that dominance is under current pressures. The US Air Force is now hunting for unused MQ-9 Reapers after heavy combat losses against Iran and the Houthis, scrambling to find airframes wherever they can to plug critical capability gaps in surveillance and strike missions. The Air Force has confirmed plans to buy remaining unused MQ-9s from General Atomics, according to TWZ, a move intended to replenish stocks quickly even as longer-term procurement solutions are pursued. Interestingly, General Atomics reportedly has fewer than 10 spare MQ-9A drones available, a startlingly small number that underscores how tight the supply pipeline has become. Nearly 30 MQ-9 Reapers were reportedly lost during Operation Epic Fury against Iran, a tally that highlights the growing attrition rate US remotely piloted aircraft face in high-threat environments. Additional dozens of Reapers were downed fighting Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, further depleting the fleet and illustrating how low-tech but determined adversaries can exact a high price. The Air Force fleet shrank to about 135 MQ-9s, raising readiness concerns, according to TWZ, and fueling debate over how to sustain global operations with a reduced inventory. During this period, the US Air Force inventory fell from 231 to 165 MQ-9s within a year, a rapid decline that has prompted urgent searches for replacement aircraft and interim solutions. Notably, MQ-9A production has ended and replacement MQ-9A aircraft are no longer being built, creating a manufacturing gap at a time when demand for these platforms remains high. General Atomics is now focused on the newer MQ-9B drone platform, shifting company resources and production capacity toward the next generation of remotely piloted systems. The MQ-9B differs significantly from the MQ-9A, complicating quick replacement plans because the newer design requires different training, logistics, and integration work before it can fully substitute for the older model. Reaper losses have left major gaps in US surveillance and strike capabilities, forcing commanders to plan operations with fewer persistent sensors overhead and fewer precision strike options ready when targets appear. The downed MQ-9s are estimated to have cost around $1 billion combined, a sum that reflects not only the price of airframes and sensors but also lost mission time, replacement parts, and the operational value those drones provided. The US Air Force chief called the Reaper the most valuable player against Iran, highlighting how its endurance and strike flexibility proved decisive even as commanders now grapple with replacing so many of them. Despite that praise, officials increasingly question the MQ-9's survivability in future wars, worrying that more advanced air defenses and electronic attack could make the platform far more vulnerable in contested environments. The Air Force has repeatedly failed to find a suitable successor to the Reaper, leaving a capability gap that has forced service leaders to rely on interim fixes while they search for a long-term replacement. In response, the US Air Force has launched a fresh effort to develop an MQ-9 Next, a program intended to produce a more survivable, capable follow-on that can meet emerging threats and mission requirements. The US Air Force has admitted concern over the growing attrition of MQ-9 drones, warning that sustained losses could degrade readiness, strain allied operations, and limit the US military's ability to maintain persistent global coverage. Retired MQ-1 Predator drones are being cannibalized for spare parts, an improvisational measure that underscores how maintenance crews are scrounging legacy components to keep aging and remaining MQ-9S flying. Over 50 MQ-1S at Amag were stripped to support MQ-1's operations, an extraordinary logistical step that illustrates the severity of the supply shortfall and the lengths being taken to sustain current mission demands. Amid the crises, General Atomics has rejected calls for cheap, disposable combat drones, arguing that hasty, low-cost designs would sacrifice the proven capabilities commanders need in real conflicts. The company said proven capabilities matter more than low-cost replacements, emphasizing that survivability, payload flexibility, and reliable sensors trump a strategy built around expendable airframes. General Atomics has highlighted years of lessons in weather, weapons, and operations, noting that those hard-won insights shape design choices that can't be replicated by rushed or untested programs. The company argues existing MQ-9s could receive survivability upgrades, suggesting improvements to avionics, countermeasures, and tactics could extend their usefulness while longer-term solutions mature. General Atomics stated that future drone concepts remain largely unproven, warning that novel architectures must demonstrate real-world performance before they can be relied upon to replace combat-proven systems. The company has mocked what it called make-believe drone projects lacking real-world testing, contending that enthusiasm for flashy prototypes must be tempered by rigorous evaluation against operational demands. Reaper losses have underscored the growing risks posed by advanced Iranian air defenses, showing how even relatively low-cost countermeasures and tactics can deny freedom of action to remotely piloted aircraft. The U.S. Air Force is now facing urgent pressure to rebuild its depleted drone fleet, scrambling to balance near-term replenishment with investments in more survivable next-generation platforms. Amid this, President Trump said war with Iran will end one way or the other after criticizing Democrats, injecting a charged political dimension into debates over strategy and force posture.
Because what I'm seeing from the Democrats, they're going to have some problems. And by the way, if they don't, if they win, this country is finished. We're in trouble. So I hate to say that you have no choice, but I don't think you have much of a choice. These are some very sick puppies that I'm looking at that are running for office. And on the other side, I call them the Democrats, D-U-M. You take out the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B. You take out the B, and you change the E, you put the U, and you have a Democrat. But their policy is just outstandingly bad, and it's really bad for the farmer because we were having record stuff, and then we had to put out a fire. We had to extinguish a nuclear weapon, a capable nuclear. This was going to be a very capable country that was going to have a massive nuclear presence, and we weren't going to let that happen. Nobody wanted that to happen, and we've largely finished that, you'll see. One way or the other is finished. It's either finished with a piece of paper or finished a more difficult way, although you could say a much easier way. As you know, with Iran, they have no Navy. 159 ships in 4 days. Even Ken is impressed by that. 4 days, 159 ships at the bottom of the sea. Not that we like that, but that's the way it is. And the blockade is unbelievable. There's never been a blockade like that. The Navy is... We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's never been a military like it. And that's why the midterms are coming up. And I hope you people are really spiritized because we're at a point, we're going to come out of Iran very quickly, and it's going to be very strong, one way or the other, whether it's a piece of paper or the very tough way, okay? The very tough way is maybe the easier way, but we're going to come out, and your fertilizer prices are going to go way down, just like they were 4 months ago. Your fertilizer's down, your energy's down, your oil, your gas is all coming way down. And frankly, I thought it would go much higher than it did. I thought, frankly, that gasoline would be much higher than it was. I was in Iowa, another place I like a lot, and it was just before we started the excursion to Iran, and we passed gas stations. It was $1.85 a gallon, and we're going to get them down to those numbers again very quickly. But as they say in the farming business, we had to take care of business.